Hey, Jake.
How's it going?
How's it out there?
Woo! All right. Well, as you can see right now in the background, I'll turn the camera around here just in a minute, but it started snowing out here probably about an hour ago. Temperatures have been right around 25 degrees all day long. So last night we had a low of 12 degrees. Today it stayed below freezing, well below freezing. Also, other colder nights that we've had this week. Let's just say the snow is falling quickly, and we've only had at least just maybe an hour here, and I'll go ahead and turn the camera around.
Awesome.
All right, so take a look. I'll try to get in the light if I can, guys. Bear with me. But here is some of this is the sidewalk right now, and I'll scratch a little off. And as you can see, it's a fine snow right now, but very slick. And like I said, just a matter of minutes, we were looking at just regular conditions outside, and now the roadways are covered. Very slick, and that's also something that we're going to talk about tonight as well, because we have had several accidents throughout the country today from this storm. As you can see right now, guys, how fast it's falling, and pretty darn steady. Now, all week long, we've had predictions of about 3 to 6 to 4 to 8 inches. But something about this storm has got me feeling like it's going to be a little bit more than that. And now the National Weather Service has updated its snowstorm totals to 8 to 12 inches for upstate New York and other places in the Northeast, as well as New England. They'll get theirs for tomorrow. But this is going to be a persistent snow all night long into the early morning hours. The morning commute is going to be god-awful if we get exactly what it looks like we're going to get tonight. And, you know, I really feel like that they might be undershooting. I hope to show you guys before and after as the show progresses. Yeah.
I have to apologize. He's coming back in, I guess, and his internet's probably switching over from data to Wi-Fi. A little choppy there, Jake.
Sorry about that.
We're live. This is live, so you know.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, great. So yeah, we'll come back out here in a little bit and check. And often is very
Well, we'll go ahead and it looks like he lost connection. We're going to have Jake come on in and we'll pursue the show. Hopefully. I don't know. We've never done this live, so it's sort of interesting to be able to switch from outside to inside. I'm here. This is Mari, everyone. I'm in the chat. So if anyone wants to know who's behind, Grand Solar Minimum in the chat, that's me. Jake is going to be taking over. He's stomping his feet off and coming on in. Oh, and making the doggy mad. So, welcome back, Jake. So, should I hang this up or keep it going?
No, I'll turn it down on my own.
Let me mute it. Okay. All right, Jake, you just have to switch a Rooney.
Woo! All right. So, as I said, this snowstorm, I believe, could bring a bigger punch than we once thought. And lots of heavy snow, like I said, to start the night off with. This started falling pretty steady about an hour ago. And I'd say right now we're at least an inch has already fallen in the first hour. So we have not yet seen the heavier amounts that are rushing to this area here in the next several hours. And if you're wondering why I'm sounding like William Shatner right now, it's because I'm trying to catch my breath. I had to run back from the corner into our little office here, so bear with me, guys. All right, so I got a barrage of articles. First of all, let's talk about Winter Storm Avery. This is our first major winter storm here in the Northeastern. And one thing I want to also point out is that the Old Farmer's Almanac was talking about the snowier, colder winter for the Northeast, parts of the Midwest and eastern part of the United States. And already we are seeing proof of that. In my opinion, this is an early start for this kind of a storm. Now, it's not that rare. We've seen bigger storms than this, so I'm not trying to make a mountain out of an anthill. But so far, a lot of the predictions that were made for this upcoming winter was going to be cold and snowy for this part of the country, as well as the Midwest. And we've also seen the example of the icier weather. That to me is an early start in some of the southern states. We'll talk about that as well. And that was also predicted for this winter. Upcoming weather patterns, we were going to see the South, like Arkansas and Alabama. Those were going to be winter battle zones is what they called them, meaning there was going to be more ice accumulation this year. So, we're not even in winter, technically, calendar-wise. I believe December 21st is the first day of calendar winter. So, exciting stuff if you like covering storms, but in all seriousness, you got to have proper management and plan when it comes to this kind of weather. And I think that, like I said, a lot of these forecasters have underestimated this, and it's kind of smacked people in the face as far as what's really happened. And here's an example right here. And I'm not trying to spin this politically, but this is my point. When I get upset about how global warming and NOAA and people like that tell people, like NOAA's been saying that we're going to be 30 to 50% warmer here in the Northeast, and like 60 to 80% warmer in the northern plains and the Midwest, and all the country was going to be so much above average on temps for this month of November, and that's not happened. And when people see mainstream like NOAA and Weather Channel and people that push man-made global warming, this is where this starts polluting and confusing the actual real people out there that need to know what's going to happen. I don't think, and what I mean by this is this superintendent here in Kettering, Ohio. I'm from this area. I'm very surprised this happened, actually, because usually these areas are pretty good about calling school day when we're expecting the kind of weather that Ohio got. Southwest Ohio had several school closings this morning. A lot of places closed the night before. This guy waited to the last minute. People were arriving to school. Now, these are elementary kids. And this is the superintendent being quoted as saying, if we know the day before the weather is just going to be horrific, we're going to let our parents know.
Excuse me, Jake.
Yeah.
We're saying we got an echo.
Yeah, it's
coming in.
because that damn desktop is not
All right,
paused.
let's get that fixed real quick for people. Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. So this has been a weird
Thanks.
first few minutes of this.
Please.
But anyway, so he says if we know the weather's just going to be horrific, we're going to call, let parents know. But many times it's between 5 and 6 a.m. that we make those decisions. Having power go out, we couldn't predicted that. This guy basically was going to have school today. And I can tell you this, I'm from this area, and I checked their local website this morning. Every school surrounding this school, and they are smack dab in the middle of this radius of all the other schools that were closed today, except for this one. And who knows, maybe this guy is influenced by, being satisfied with watching CNN headline news. It's November 15th, it's not going to be that bad. And that's the way of thinking in that part of town. I mean, like I said, it's November 15th. They don't see this kind of weather in Southwest Ohio this early. So this is one way it's going to affect decision making if you're torn between what side to pick and what side to ignore. And I think channels like us and other channels that are weather related, and Davidson, I'd have to say, other channels that care about the climate, the truth about the climate, Henrik, of course, Starman, If I'm forgetting anybody else, forgive me. But we're trying to get the truth out. And it's important that people take these things a little bit seriouser than, the first glance. And just give you an example how much, the headlines tonight are dominated by the storm. The main worry now in the Dayton area is the rain, snow showers, and slick roads return this evening because they're going to have refreeze. So with the near quarter-inch of ice they already had, here we are in Cincinnati. Thousands have been hit with power outages in the Cincinnati area, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana on Thursday, so that's a trifecta. The hazardous travel conditions have forced delays, start times at schools, and the closure of some streets due to downed trees. The National Weather Service has issued an ice storm warning for southwestern Ohio as well as east central, southeast Indiana, and northern Kentucky. That was earlier today. The warning, which remained in effect until around lunchtime, and then they also warned of slippery road conditions for later this evening. Like I said, they're now worried about refreeze. Cincinnati Parks reported they had nearly 100 trees down around the city. All of our crews have been dispatched and prioritizing based on public safety, said the department, talking about the Cincinnati Enquirer. Cincinnati Parks also trying to clean up, as they say here. Duke Energy reported 95,000 customers without power, and Hamilton County also suffered around 66,000 customers without power, and that's their largest ever. Duke Energy said it estimated the power would be resolved by 4 p.m. We'll have to check and see if that has happened. But lots of damage here. Lots of power outages. DP&L, Dayton Power and Light, experienced 22,000 just in Montgomery County alone. So quite a bit of power outages today. This storm kind of came at you like, what's up? Basically. Port Authority bus terminal closed due to snowstorm overcrowding. Look at this. It's like people were caught off guard. Like, what? It's snowing tonight? But we're not supposed to get that much. And that's another thing, too. We were told that the coastal areas were going to see light amounts. I got a little article in here in Delaware where they got 3.3 inches when they were told it was going to be a dusting. Port Authority bus terminal is so crowded with commuters waiting for buses amid a massive winter storm that the agency is blocking any more people from entering. Officials closed the doors to the facility around 5:15 because so many passengers are waiting for the buses that aren't heading in or out. We're recommending passengers to take trains back to New Jersey due to weather causing bus delays. The agency tweeted out that riders should find other ways to get home. Hey, great idea. 5:15, let's tell everybody that you're not riding the bus. It's snowing out there, and you know what? You got to find somewhere else. I mean, this is awful. In my opinion, terrible management. Why weren't the radars being looked at? Why aren't these people paying attention? When you hear hints that there's a storm coming, and we've been talking about it on this channel for quite some time, and this kind of stuff right here shouldn't happen. I haven't seen a salt truck out the whole day here in where I live. I don't know. It just seems like everybody really underestimated the power of this thing. The chaos at Port Authority is beyond words, one person tweeted. 2 inches of snow gets you waiting over 2 hours on a bus. New York City doesn't get this kind of snow this early, I don't believe. Some grip that the snow isn't bad enough to warrant such a mess. I have commuted in the city worse weather, so someone please explain to me how and why I'm stranded at Port Authority until further notice. That's a very good point, too. As of 7 p.m., those entrances were still closed. Wow. Climatologists forecast models underestimate cold temps, extent of snowfall in Delaware. Coastal storm that thought would bring Delaware no more than a dusting of snow. Traffic, it snowed a lot during their commute today. And in fact, this is what I was talking about. They got 3.3 inches of snow right at rush hour commute. Again, it's not terrible. This is not like it was snowmageddon here, but I'm sure it got some people off guard. You got one off the road there. But just impressive. I mean, this is November 15th, and we're looking at images that look like are something from January. Impressive snow right now, and it's only begun here in this area. Thursday snow in Baltimore is the earliest in 22 years. November since 1989, We were talking about this last night, my brother and I discussing this, how we remember it being snowy and cold when we were growing up. We were probably the peak of our growing up around 85 to around this time. I was about 10 or 11 years old. And yeah, we were in a minimum at the time as well, I believe. It says here, November snowfall is relatively common in Baltimore, but usually leaves just a trace of flakes. It says Thursday's dose of sustained winter precipitation was the most the region has seen in November since at least 1989. Last time measurable snow fell, defined as 1/10 of an inch. That was back in November 15th, 1996, when 0.3 of an inch fell. And right now, they're saying they had about 1.7 inches today by 1 p.m. So they smashed that record big time by at least 1.5 inches at last report. This is just to kind of like take our attention away from some of the bad stuff, I guess, that's happened today, unfortunately. If you're a hockey fan, you know who this is. He's catching snowflakes, folks. That's how I felt today. Pretty much. Rich and compelling. All right, moving along. Basically, nobody has a clue how much snow we're getting today. That's absolutely true, because I've seen the constant change of forecasting on AccuWeather all week long about this. And now there's a chance that, well, like I said, before I went on the air, I saw that they increased the snow amounts to 8 to 12 inches, where all week it was 4 to 8, started at 3 to 6, 4 to 8. Now they're saying we could get 8 to 12 here in upstate New York. With official start of winter still more than a month away, Philadelphia is getting its first taste of winter weather on Thursday. Snow began falling mid-morning, and it remains to be seen exactly how much we'll be getting. Around 11:30 a.m., it certainly looked pretty ominous outside, with lots of big flakes coming down and sticking to surfaces. Again, just trying to give you the depth of where this was happening today, how many states were affected. Alabama. Yes, that's right. A freeze warning is in effect in Alabama, continues until noon. Another freeze warning will go into effect tonight for all of central Alabama. A freeze warning in effect in central Alabama, folks. There's Birmingham, nice little burst of snow. Because, you know, it snows in Birmingham, Alabama on November 15th. That's normal. Right, Al? Al? All right. Being ridiculous here, because this is ridiculous. More snow. Boston, St. Louis. Moving right along through Massachusetts. This is affecting quite a big part of the region, but the unfortunate part is that I think the lack of just the surprise of this storm has caused a lot of problems here, guys. Winter storm Avery continued a deadly march as it heads into the northeast on Thursday, knocking out power to over almost 400,000 customers, leaving 8 people dead after a number of accidents blamed on the snow and ice. The evening commute became an absolute nightmare for drivers, especially in parts of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Traffic sat still for hours on the turnpikes and interstates and crawled into a snail's pace when it could move. New York drivers reported being stranded for up to 7 hours. This story was posted just about, how long ago? Does it give us the time? It says an hour, less than an hour ago, so this is up to date. School buses were also caught in the chaos. Bob Kelly at Fox 29 Philadelphia said buses from his child's school were returning to school about 6:30 after being dismissed at 1:30. Again, lack of prep. This storm has been talked about. Why aren't people paying attention? Is the mainstream news outlets not reporting that we have a winter situation happening? I mean, I can't even believe people are actually in school today. If you were in the path of this storm, it's been a solid 4 to 8 inches prediction all week long, and sure enough, here we are, and now they're calling for more. Nationwide, more than 2,000 flights have been canceled as of 7 p.m., according to the flight tracking service FlightAware. Philadelphia, Washington's Reagan National Airport, Baltimore, New York area airports were among the hardest hit Thursday. Flights being diverted from JFK to LaGuardia on Thursday evening. Pennsylvania. Here we go. Lots of images from a nightmare commute, snow-covered highways, standstill traffic. People are, how long did it take? I'll let you know when I'm home. I've been sitting on the turnpike at mile marker 40 and a half for over 3 hours with my car turned off. What is being done? About 50 disabled and homeless people were stranded in Allentown, Dunkin' Donuts, when the Atlanta bus service was suspended at 2:30. Again, what was going on with management today? Why weren't there salt trucks out? Why was all this just hit all of a sudden to where, community service transportation was suspended? And look at the snow pile, guys. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The cars have been sitting here so long, oh, you turd, that you can actually see where the cars are shading the ground and the snow drift from where the snow is falling. I mean, that looks like another 2 to 3 inches possibly from just sitting there. I don't know. I'm just surprised to see that there was so much. I
don't know where it went.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I was just surprised to see that there was so much lack of prep today. And this is concerning because it's November 15th. The temperatures, for the most part, are obviously below freezing out here. We've got people in their cars for 3 hours with the engines turned up because at this point they don't know when they're going to get going again and back home. And it sure looks hopeless at this point that no one's out here plowing. Well, of course, you can't plow when you're in a jam. So this is a very unfortunate situation. The timing of this storm is crazy that it hit so hard at such a very important part of the day from 2:30 on. That's when the real problems had started. It says here, CBS Philadelphia reported that Montgomery County saw more than 250 accidents, 350 disabled vehicles beginning at noon on Thursday. Delaware County also reported 150 accidents. Was this you and your camel on Route 309 today? Please PM me. I have so many questions. Very odd to see in Pennsylvania. This is actually making the news. A camel was seen walking along the side of Route 309 near... What is going on? Wait a minute. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to report on tonight's weather, and the camel is in the news. I mean, we've got snow just coming out of nowhere. No one's prepared, and there's a camel on the loose. A camel. In Pennsylvania, okay? There's a camel on the freaking turnpike in Philly. My mind is going to explode right now. All right. Avery's snow has now reached New York City. This was earlier today. Multi-vehicle accidents brought George Washington Bridge to gridlock on Thursday afternoon. All lanes were blocked. Port Authority of New York and New Jersey tweeted all lanes reopened at 6:30, but travelers were advised to expect delays, and bus cancellations as well. Central Park has received 6 inches of snow by Thursday evening. 6 inches of snow, folks. This one should be breaking some records. I'd be shocked if it doesn't. Port Authority bus terminal in Manhattan was closed to any more passengers at about 5:30. I just talked about that. I still can't get over the whole camel thing in Philly. I mean, we are talking about ice and snow, and there's a camel on the loose. Down trees, again, same site we saw in Ohio is now in New York City. This is crazy. New Jersey, nearly every major highway in the state experienced gridlock as people tried to leave work early to beat the storm. Listen, we're getting clobbered, New Jersey Governor Philip Murphy said. No forecast, none predicted this. I did. Or not predicted, but I warned that this could happen. But, we're considered fake news, I guess. Renovated Bayonne Bridge was closed in both directions Thursday afternoon because of slippery conditions and because drivers couldn't make it up steeper inclines. Again, lack of prep. There was no salt trucks treating these roads today. Why? because a governor or a mayor has a budget to keep and it's November 15th, we're not really going to need this, we're warming. Well, where are they getting these ideas from, folks? When you got the top dog, NOAA, manipulating the hell out of some data, and the Starman has uncovered some, wow. I'll have to go over that with you guys as well. I know he releases a lot of work on his blog and Twitter, but there's some serious evidence that is showing some data tampering big time from NOAA and the mainstream. I can't understand why there were so many untreated roads today, whether or not that it's impossible for the trucks to get out because the snow fell at a credible rate. I get that, whatever. But you would think the day before, the morning of, we're going to be out there and we're treating the roads. We're going to start spraying the roads down, salting the roads, getting it ready for tonight. This snow stuck immediately. In Ohio, one person was killed in an accident that started a chain of dozen other crashes along US 30 in Stark County. Barry Bailey, 61 years old, from Paris Township, which is a rural area, was killed early Thursday morning in the crash. The cause of the accident appears to be ice on the road with very low temperatures and the rain. This was early in the morning before 7 a.m. Again, it's almost like people were ignoring the warning, because I followed this story of the ice storm for this area. Like, I have family there. My brother and his kids live there. So my other sons live there. So I have concern in that area. But more than 140,000 lost power in Ohio during Winter Storm Avery on Thursday. Kind of already went over the Cincinnati ice as well. Unfortunately, another woman was killed in Millersville Thursday morning in Maryland. Her car slid on a mix of rain, sleet, and snow into oncoming traffic. The fatal accident was one of nearly 4 dozen crashes around between 4:30 a.m. and noon. I just hope that we can all learn, as I know we have businesses and companies to run. I get that. But I hope we start paying a little bit more attention to the weather after this storm, because I see a lot of unfortunate accidents that might have been prevented if the company had said, hey, you know what, they're calling for 1/4 of an inch of ice overnight hours into the morning. You know, that might be a little dangerous for our people to drive into work. Maybe we should delay opening. You know, I feel like there were so many things that could have avoided some of these early morning accidents that they didn't have to be on the road in the first place. A very unfortunate situation. And again, it's almost like everybody in these states ignored every warning that we were talking about. DeSoto County emergency responders said that 2 people were killed and at least 44 injured when a bus traveling along Interstate 269 overturned on Wednesday. The victims of the crash were identified. Well, we don't need to go into that, actually. The accident took place about 40 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee. That's crazy. Ice-related bus crash in southern Tennessee, basically. The far western southern part of Tennessee. Virginia. Scheduled launch of an unmanned cargo rocket to the International Space Station had to be postponed because of the weather. Looks like we got at least a 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice coating here. Trees and branches bending down, possibly causing power outages. Indiana, another person lost their life because a tree had fallen on the interstate. Another fatal accident. 80,000 people lost power statewide there in Indiana. Kentucky, numerous power outages. Dozens of accidents were reported overnight, Wednesday and Thursday in Kentucky as icy wintry weather moved into the area. 130,000 customers were without power across the state of Thursday morning, poweroutage.us reported. So a lot is happening right now. And a lot of these accidents, you can't blame the drivers. You can't blame all the mayors and governors and people who are in charge of public safety. I'm not saying everybody is neglecting everything, but there are things that, there are things that that seem like that could have been done to help prevent road conditions like this. I mean, this is obvious that these cars have been sitting here for as long as they say they have, when you can see snow drifts of 2 to 3 inches forming around their cars. That's quite a bit of snow. Let's take a look at all the winter storm warnings that we have in much of Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Delaware, Maine, let's just say the entire New England area, you guys are in a winter storm warning right now. Other parts of the northern plains are looking at winter weather advisories. But the action in here, is this what I think it is here down in the south? Yeah, the freeze warnings. I mean, that's quite a bit of an area here for a freeze warning. So to add injury to insult of crops that might have been damaged already, here you go. More evidence of a hard freeze definitely killing vegetation tonight. For sure, that's a lot of area there that's going to be suffering tonight due to cold temperatures. Taking a look at our current radar once again. And here is a quick look at the total precipitable water that is in our atmosphere. And we can clearly see where our little winter storm is and how we have, it looks like a strong flow for sure. So there's plenty of moisture for this storm that we're currently in to pull from. And that's the first thing. And also when you go to Earth Null and you look at the total water cloud precipitation, is that what I'm looking at? The TCW? Total cloud water. The chart is bright white, that's the highest. I don't see anything that's brown or yellow. So I'm not sure if the brown and yellow mean it's more intense than the white, but as we can see, there is plenty of total cloud water available right now. So, again, I think that's part of the reason why they up the totals to 8 to 12 in most of upstate New York and parts of New England. But the ingredients are definitely there. Here's another look at our snowfall through November 25th. This is including sleet as well, assuming inches. A 10-to-1 ratio here. Most of the Northeast is looking at anywhere from 8 to a foot of snow, basically, in the next couple of weeks. Today's the 15th, so yeah, the next 10 days. Very snowy here in the Northeast. And again, like I said, that's what we have been talking about we were going to have. The old Farmer's Almanac had also stated this, but NOAA wants to tell you that that's hogwash. That we're going to have warm temperatures, mild temperatures, more rain. And maybe that's why some areas today had the gridlock that they had. But here's a look at it once again, as we've been monitoring this for the past several days. GFS is thinking that possibly overnight we could see some freezing rain mixed in with this storm into parts of southern New York and the far northeast of Pennsylvania. And as it moves into the overnight hours into early Friday morning, the storm is still around by daytime, and right as we get into the early morning commute, 7 a.m.-ish, let's say, we are seeing heavy snow falling from central New York all the way to upstate New York. So those areas are going to be a little bit of concern during those hours of travel. Also taking a look as we go through the early afternoon, you see the snow starting to lighten up in upstate New York, but still hanging around and starting to change over to rain in parts of, it looks like somewhere around the Syracuse area. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but it is sticking around. It does look like it's trying to change back to rain, as temperatures are forecasted tomorrow to be around 36 degrees in upstate New York. So I'll be surprised to see if we see any more snowfall past 3 p.m. tomorrow. So that graphic could be correct. This storm finally gets out of New England by Saturday, November 17th. We've got a huge high pressure system crashing in across the central part of the United States. Snow in the Rockies, Wyoming, parts of Ohio, but this is not anything too big. But here as we move through, the GFS kind of shows confidence that by early Monday that this system forms and takes off across the Atlantic, but then by Tuesday into Wednesday, we see another chance of some more measurable snow to the northeast. And that is including Erie, PA, Buffalo, New York, upstate New York, and once again into the northeast. So out by Tuesday into Wednesday, snow out of the way. High pressure trying to settle in once again. The northeast, 2 days later, right after Thanksgiving, we'll have another chance for snowfall through into Saturday. The pattern right now is showing the dominance of the snow chances almost every 2 to 3 days from here on out. That's a pretty frequent snow frequency, if you ask me. The consistency of how many snow, just here in the Northeast. I'm not saying the whole country's going through this, but that's also been predicted that we were going to see colder and snowy and that battle zone in the South, like we see today with the ice. But also pay attention to November 24th into the 25th. We got a huge low pressure system moving in, and Northern California really gets some good rain on the 25th into Sunday into Monday. Rain sticking around all the way into Monday afternoon. And that was a Fox News update where the California wildfire death toll has now rose to 63, and that is from the sheriff. So as we were talking about California, here we have a real chance of some real rainfall that might help the situation with the wildfires, and we can only hope for some relief soon. But right now, each day that goes by in the search and rescue, the death toll is continuing to climb, so very sad news out of California right now. But November 25th into the 26th, we do get a good chance of some soaking rains, and then it kind of disappears on the 27th, but that forms a pretty big low pressure system across the central part of the country. And look at all this moisture in the back end. Just starts kind of appearing out of nowhere. The majority of the country is going to be dealing with some kind of a rain snowstorm at the end of November, beginning of December. Another low pressure system along California, bringing with it not just rain, but snow for the Rockies, Utah, New Mexico, more Oklahoma snow and Texas snow possible with this at the end of the month. We're getting shots of cold air that will convert this rain here in the Midwest by the time it does reach the Northeast. If this pattern continues, this could shift over to be cold enough for more snow once again. But the good news is that rain is on the way for California. Unfortunately, we're still another 9 days away from actual, real, solid chance for rain. If we go backwards here, unfortunately, folks, we do not have any news for California for moisture until right around the 23rd. Very light, and then kind of picks up in intensity as it moves closer to landfall. And then on the 24th, 25th is when we see a really good chance for some soaking rain. So we do get 2 shots of decent rain to help, but hopefully we can still help at that time with the rains by the 23rd of November. So very active pattern here in the United States. Cold air invading most of the country early and often, if you ask me. And it's just shocking to see all of the areas today that have not or were not prepared for what happened with the roads and how quickly it fell and just the timing of the commute, everybody being out in it. I hope that everyone is safe and indoors right now and that you don't have to go out anywhere else tonight, because this is just a very unfortunate situation where you read about people losing their lives on the highway. You got to remember to slow down when this weather gets bad like this. I think a lot of people, like, this is the first time driving in this weather. Usually when we get these kind of storms, we've had a couple of light snowstorms to start us off. We just don't get drawn into a major snowstorm like we've seen today, where we had ice and snow falling. And there's a current look right now at what we have on the radar. The storm moves through overnight and just brings a lot of heavy precipitation here through the overnight hours into Friday. And this is 8 a.m. upstate New York. You're still in the thick of it. And then by around 11 a.m. we start to taper off that snow as it tries to leave the area. But according to windy.com, we could see snow showers lingering in parts of western New York into central New York as late as 6 p.m. Here's the radar at 10 a.m. Here we are 11. This is at 2 p.m. And western New York, central New York, and parts of upstate New York are still experiencing the snow showers. 3 p.m., 5 p.m. So right around 5, 6 p.m. where this storm will finally make its exit. And the impact, of course, that commute, the hope is that the roads are already treated and plowed by the time we get out of work tomorrow. But if you have to go into work, and here's that next batch of snow coming in later this weekend, it's going to be a light chance, nothing major or anything like that, just a couple of flurries here and there, nothing to be too concerned about. But then what's interesting about this is it does kind of re-emerge too, but I still don't think this is going to be as heavy as what we're looking at today. Who knows? We'll keep our eye on that storm. It looks like the most part of New York and central New York are going to escape that one. The majority of this is going to be a coastal event. Possible light 1 to 3, maybe 2 to 4 inches on that one as well. But this is still a few days out, guys. But we're going to get our chances for snow, no doubt about it. Taking a look at our North Atlantic temperature. Let's see if it's updated. This is the most current reading. We are just under baseline in the North Atlantic. After seeing that spike, that anomaly spike, we have now dropped. And let's see how much farther it goes below baseline. As the last 2 days, it's plummeted. Here we are looking at the El Nino making a comeback. Yes, making a comeback. Once again, the inconsistent bipolar El Nino has struck. It is now at a 0.594 degrees above baseline, which just a couple days ago we were actually below that threshold for El Nino. So nothing's been consistent, if you ask me, but we'll continue to monitor that as well. Taking a look at the warming in the El Nino region is actually, to me, appears to be cooling also as well, as we see temperatures now falling into the 26 degrees Celsius range that we saw a string of 27s across that image as well. And let's go ahead and visit our little ice gain that we have seen here for the month of November. And, you know, it started off kind of low this year, but it really got into gear in October. And from October 18th till now, we have gained over close to 4 million square kilometers on the Arctic Sea ice extent. So in just a month, that's quite a bit of growth. And I think rapidly we've seen temperatures. Now, there is an anomaly going to happen in the Arctic here soon. We saw it. It's mainly going to be on the Greenland side, the eastern part of Greenland. And we will see temperatures that will go from 10 degrees to 15 degrees Celsius above normal. That spike is now being predicted if you go to severeweather.eu. But again, folks, you got to remember, this is just an anomaly, and that's what is going to push the colder air into the northeast, and that's why I believe we're going to continue to see a snowy pattern for parts of northeast Ohio into the northeastern part of the country. Over the next 10 days, we will see a consistent pattern of cold temperatures and snowy conditions. Again, it's the middle of November. A lot of us aren't getting our first snowfalls. You know, if this was happening in the middle of December, nobody would bat an eye. But I think a lot of people are surprised at how fast we've actually gotten from this little storm here so far. But that is a look at what I had for you guys tonight. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do one more update outdoors. Mari, I'm going to go ahead and attempt. Actually, Mari's going to say hello to everybody in the chat, people who have joined us. Do you have your... Where's that other device that I was using? Oh, it's in the chair. Go ahead and tell everybody hello.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, Jake. Let's see if we can do this. Are you set? How's everyone in the chat doing? I did ask people, if you are in these snow-affected areas, send us your photos and video, and we'll probably show them live tomorrow. Or when?
Sunday.
Sunday?
Well, actually, we do have a show tomorrow night.
Tomorrow. So, let's, you're just gonna... I'll be able to hear you through here, right? Did we mute something?
Is it still connected?
Who knows?
Looks like it.
Yes. So, we will see. Let me look in the chat. Here's Jake. All right, Jake, can you hear me? All right, Jake, can you hear me? Let's see. He's walking. He's walking. I don't know if he can hear me yet.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Look at you. Put snowflakes on the screen. How cute.
So, you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. So, I will say this, that since the last...
Well, now he's breaking up, and I don't know if we can hear you now.
I can hear you.
I can still see your footprints from last time, so it doesn't... Or are those ones you just made? Are your footprints covered up from last time, Jake?
We can check. Let's go ahead and check. This is where I was last time.
So we haven't gotten too much. Was it a half hour?
Yeah, about a half hour ago. So I'd say probably another half inch fell. And just so an hour and a half, we see about an inch and a half. And this is just the very beginning of this, guys. We're forecasted to get 4 to 8 inches originally. But now it could be 8 to 12 inches, and the roads are awful right now. As you see, cars are not moving very fast, thankfully. We got a lot of hills in this region, so people really have to drive with caution. Of course, some SUVs, you think they have through. But yeah, guys are out in this tonight. Please, if you do send us photos, do it safely. Don't risk anything or any injury or anything like that, because even me standing out here in the streets, I'm putting myself at risk for somebody sliding out of control and hitting that curb and maybe possibly hitting me. So, you know, everybody just use caution if you have to go out into this tonight. But that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Marty, did you want to add anything before we got out of here?
No, it's going to be interesting to see what this storm does, and just watch the coverage. It's pretty shocking right now, just the accidents and just the lack of preparedness for the storm. So,
yeah, the South got a lot of people got blindsided. These closures of the transit systems is just, to me, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's a decent storm, but it's not really that big. It's not apocalyptic out here by any means. So it's kind of confusing on why we are seeing so many problems with transits and closings, or not closing, like they probably should have heeded the warnings from their local weathermen and other people who might have been trying to forecast this storm as well.
Sounds like someone's like revving an engine.
Yeah, sorry about that. We've got a gentleman here and he's a new muffler on his vehicle. So.
All right. So, are you going to end it out there, Jake?
I'm going to end it out here. Guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Please tune in tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And we will probably get some footage of the total snow amounts once this snowstorm is over tomorrow afternoon. I know Mari will have time to grab some footage, hopefully, and put a little something together so we can show off the storm totals. We'll talk about how much snow fell and what was impacted the worst during the storm. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon.